You ever stop and think about how much AI is just everywhere now? It's kind of crazy. We're so plugged in that when it goes down, it feels like a blackout. So today, we're going to dig into this really big idea that AI isn't just a cool tool anymore. It's becoming something much more fundamental, like public infrastructure. All right, let's get into it.
And to really get a feel for this shift, we don't have to look very far back. Let's start with something most of us probably remember all too well.
Remember that huge AI outage back in late 2024? How did that feel? For a ton of people, work just stopped, right? You're trying to draft an email, write some code, pull together a report, and suddenly, poof. The way you're used to working is just gone. It was pretty jarring, wasn't it? And here's the thing, that feeling, it wasn't just you. Researchers actually pointed this out. It was this massive, shared experience that showed just how dependent we've become almost overnight, without even really noticing.
So that's the whole point, right? That collective groan we all felt, that was a signal. That was the moment AI really crossed the line from being, a nice-to-have productivity app to being a core part of how we think and work.
But look, this kind of thing isn't new. It's not the first time a piece of tech has made this massive leap. If you look back through history, there's a really clear pattern here.
Yeah, economists actually have a name for this stuff. They call it a general-purpose technology, and that's just a fancy way of saying it's a technology so big, so fundamental, that it doesn't just change one little thing. No, it rewires the entire economy and even society itself.
And this timeline really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? AI isn't just another app on your phone. It's playing in the big leagues with the steam engine, electricity, the internet, and these are the technologies that completely change the rules of the game. Okay, so if AI is the new electricity, and that's a powerful way to think about it, then we can't just treat it like the Wild West, right? We can't just let private companies do whatever they want. It means we have to start thinking about it the same way we think about our power grid or our water supply. It needs a public interest mindset.
And that thinking leads us straight to this concept of AI as public infrastructure, or AIP for short. Now think of AI pies like a governance membrane. It's a system that lets us tap into all this incredible power from AI, but it filters it through our own layers of culture, law, and ethics to make sure it actually works for us.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually know? How can we tell when a specific AI application crosses that line from just being a cool tool to being something we all depend on?
Right, so how do we measure it? How do we put a number on it and say, okay, this is now essential infrastructure and it needs public oversight?
Well, there's a framework for that. It's called the Infrastructure Status Index, or ISI. You can think of it like a scorecard, basically. It grades an AI's role in any field across 4 key dimensions. Let's break them down. So first up, we've got essentiality. This one's easy. It's that power outage test we talked about at the beginning. If you take the AI away and everything grinds to a halt, well, it's pretty essential. Next up, number 2, embeddedness. This is all about how deeply the AI is tangled up with everything else. Is it just a standalone app you open and close? Or is it a foundational layer that thousands of other services are built on top of?
All right, number 3 is legitimacy. This one's about what we expect from it. Do we, the public, demand that it just works reliably and fairly all the time? Kind of like we expect the lights to turn on. When we start getting mad at it for being biased or unreliable, that's a huge sign it's becoming a utility.
And last but not least, governance. This one is all about control. How much of what the system does is decided by some far-off provider pushing a silent update you know nothing about. The more we depend on these opaque, centralized decisions, the more we need some kind of public oversight. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting when you actually apply this index to the real world. Just look at these scores. For something like search, you can see AI is well on its way to being public infrastructure. But the real story here? Look at the pattern. See how that government score is almost always lagging way behind everything else? That's the takeaway. Our adoption of AI is moving at light speed, but our ability to govern it, it's crawling. There's a huge gap. And that governance gap, that's the central problem we're facing right now. And because of that gap, we're seeing different parts of the world come up with totally different ideas for how to solve it.
Globally, you can really see 3 big approaches starting to form. First, you've got the US model,
which is very market-led. The idea is let private companies innovate like crazy with a pretty light touch from regulators. Then you've got China's state-led approach, where the government is in the driver's seat, steering investment and deployment for its own strategic goals. And then, somewhere in the middle, you have the EU, which is building this hybrid path, trying to let the market do its thing, but within these strong public guardrails, like their big AI Act.
So because everyone has a different idea about how to govern this stuff, it's leading nations toward a really powerful new goal. It's not just about using AI anymore. It's about controlling your own AI destiny.
And this is where you hear the term sovereign AI pop up. But, and this is really important, it's not about building a digital wall around your country. It's much more of a delicate balancing act. It's about having strategic control while knowing that the AI supply chain is, and probably always will be, global.
So what does that actually mean? Well, it pretty much boils down to having a handle on 4 key things: the data that's training your AI, the massive computing power needed to run it, the AI models themselves, and, maybe the most important part, making sure the AI's goals are aligned with your country's own culture and values.
But hold on. Does this mean every single country needs to build its own ChatGPT from scratch? Build its own chips, its own data centers? Everything? I mean, is that even possible?
No, not at all. Actually, the smarter play, and the one you see most countries going for, isn't trying to do everything themselves. It's something experts are calling managed interdependence. It's about figuring out what's absolutely critical to control yourself, and then strategically partnering up with others for the rest.
And this isn't just some academic idea. You can see it happening on the ground right now. Take India's India II mission. They're not trying to build everything. Instead, they're getting strategic, focusing on public computing resources and making sure they have models that work for their dozens of languages. Or look at the UAE and Saudi Arabia. They're pouring billions into their own sovereign clouds and powerful Arabic-first AI models. For all of them, the goal isn't to disconnect from the world. It's to make sure their own cultures and languages have a prime spot in this new AI-powered world.
So all of this leads us to the big, final question, the one that's going to define the next decade. If AI is becoming this new layer of global infrastructure, connecting all of us in ways we've never seen before, who gets to write the rules? With all these different competing ideas for how to run it, how do we make sure this incredibly powerful new utility actually works for everyone, not just for a select few?